Welcome back to another episode of Lounging in Lancaster. We've got Milan Vidakovic here. Super excited to have you come in. Thanks for driving in.
I don't know why, but that's okay.
Milan's from New Hope, and he was part of our photo shoot that we did over at Rock Lidditz. Coming up a year now.
Was it under?
I think it was October last year.
It was October last year.
Yeah. Kudos to you. Thank you very much for all the shows.
Kudos to all of us, man. We all pulled in together and made that happen.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was such a beautiful fall shoot. Everybody looked spectacular. It flowed
except for me.
Well.
In the photos, no. I look back at the photos. It was
no, you with the guitar. Like when you were rocking on that guitar photo, that was great.
I got the one of me and you standing in Bull's Head. Like in the lobby. I think by the time we got there,
that was a good time.
It was a good time.
Yeah, we had been drinking
for a little bit.
Yeah, I looked at because I laid my card down at Blackworth.
Yeah.
And I looked at it later and was like, okay, yeah.
We had a good time.
I was like, it's all for the photo shoot, you know?
For sure.
Photos and videos turned out great.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for driving in.
I wanted to have you
come in.
Thank you.
And I wanted to share a quick story about the effect that you have on people. Because of the
positive effect.
And it really is. And I don't think that you always know what you're doing or when you're saying it that you're inspiring. But you came in at the very beginning. I think it was the second day of shutdowns. And as a business owner, we had been texting, and it's like I was stressed, and I've got no idea what's going to happen over the next couple months. And you showed up with a bottle of Shilvica. You showed up with some cheese. You brought some salami. You came in, you gave me a big hug. You bought a suit, and you're like, we're going to get through this. And it was like just sitting there for that little bit, as we were talking back and forth, and you helped me with advice on the lighting in here. It really kind of rejuvenated me through that quarantine process to put it together. So I wanted to say thank you first and foremost. It was very kind.
Sometimes it's good to have those kinds of people around you. You know what I mean? And I know when I first met you last year, I knew that you had some sort of energy about you. You know what I mean? It was it was vibrant. You know what I mean?
You guys are gonna make me cry.
Cry. We'll probably get more views.
Wow. No, that's very humbling. Very humbling.
But that's why I can concur with what he's saying. You know what I mean? You can always see a person's spirit and their personality and their uniqueness, and with you, it definitely shows.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So thank you.
I honestly, first of all, it's my honor to be here. I hope, I said to you earlier, I hope on film I come out as intellectual and philosophical as I believe I am in my mind. But that is humbling, and I thank you, and obviously you, Donovan. I just want to say, this is not a good old boys hug and whatever, but from an older guy, looking out into our society today and all the crap that's going on. First of all, I didn't know I was that inspiring, but I'm still overwhelmed by the compliments. I appreciate it very, very much, as you could tell. But hopefully, I can articulate this. But looking in from our society today and the experience we shared together last year, and you have become a friend through my daughter, obviously, but you're friends of mine now. I have, no matter what gloom and dim view I have of the events of today, politically, economically, socially, whatever we have going on, I always say to myself, well, there's the inspirational Brian Instagrams, and there's Donovan, who's doing great things in the midst of chaos, essentially, is what it is. And
that's what's inspiring too.
Kudos to the both of you. Your Instagrams, your business, this.
He's inspired me from the beginning.
Oh my God!
Just seeing his whole process, never lost steam, momentum, anything like that.
And when I saw that, all I saw was an opportunity to encourage and help if I could. I know we sold a few suits together.
That's true. Yeah.
What are we, 5 or 6 in?
I think we're about 5 now.
5 in?
Or
now.
2 sport coats, 3 suits.
3 suits, and we still have Mike to go. But
And we
we'll
got
get
you in the
there.
slim fit shirt. We got you some ties.
Oh no! We got Jeff and his son. We have Eugene and his son. We have Mike. Me, I'm irrelevant, but I just buy it because I look good in it.
Yeah.
DRS menswear. If you're not wearing DRS, you're not wearing a suit. So, and honest to God, but I want to say something about the suit thing, because, like you said, and I'll hopefully I can inspire folks, especially some men out there. If I used to go to Men's Warehouse or whatever, blah, fill in the blank of the chain, and I go in there, for $500 I got this suit, and I can you alter? And you walk out, and you've never really had a suit on until you've had this guy come to your house with a computer for an hour and a half and go, do you want these buttons? What color do you want them? Do you want your pockets in, out, over? I never knew there were so many goddamn questions about a goddamn suit. And
that's how I felt last year. I felt overwhelmed. I was these are options?
These are all options? I didn't know. And then you put it on, and it hugs you.
Oh, you're like...
it kisses you. It gives you love. And you go, oh, okay.
And it's mine.
Because it's somebody made it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is wearing this jacket.
That was the first time in my life I ever felt like a woman. Right?
Oh,
you follow your wife around like a puppy, and then okay, honey,
you're holding bags.
You're holding bags, whatever, and they're sitting there going, until he just gets it right.
Feeling.
And when they get it right, they buy it. They're smarter than we are, totally. When they get that just right, and they go, oh, okay, this is the one, and they buy it. But they go through this whole process. We've been conditioned, I guess, to think that, hey, just throw that shit on. Nobody cares what you look like.
Give me the frumpy shirt. I'll roll the sleeves up.
Yeah. So to get my first custom suit, and I bought a couple since then, and a couple, 3 jackets. Only 2 jackets, honey. This one's mine too, by the way. When they fit like that, you're just sitting there going, oh damn, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
There's
no other way to put it.
No. You know what happens? Your spine straightens up, your shoulders go back, your chin comes up, and you go, yeah, I got
all
a little confidence.
You have that boost of confidence in your
personality,
and the character that's already in there.
Yeah.
Has been
inspired
by.
I'll tell you a story. I was a sales manager for many years up in New York, and I had 8.
What type of company?
Engineering company.
Okay.
I won't go into the name.
Yeah.
But engineering company, and I had 18 direct reports, and they're all engineers and everything. Right. And I remember when my company announced, and the protocol at the time was shirt and tie always, jacket was optional. Right. And we all came to work with a shirt and tie. And I'm old school, very old school. You'll probably find out after you ask me a few questions. But I'm very old school. I'm very liberal. I'm a registered independent, but I'm very liberal-minded about social issues and conservative about some other things. But and old school in that I knew that when we all got dressed up, we acted different. You act differently in an environment when you're dressed up and you got a tie on. There's an elevated level of professionalism. Mm-hmm. When we got announced that we're doing away with the ties, I actually called HR, my boss. I said, this is a mistake. We're professionals. Sales. It's not used car sales. We did engineered products. We designed and built and bid on. For instance, I did the Holland Tunnel back in the day. All the electrical engineering and sold the entire project. It was $7.2 million or something like that.
Wow.
But so we were professionals. We were dealing with professionals. We acted professional. And when they told us there was a tie, people started coming in with polo shirts and everything.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, so now the uniform is, if you're management, it's like this,
right?
Minus the coat, most of the time.
Right.
So it's a nice shirt. Then it became sales guys came in polo shirts. Everybody's got the golf shirt, and you could I could tell you exactly the date when the professionalism went down. It was when that new rule was instated. And you could see it. Then it was Jeans Friday.
Casual Friday.
Casual Friday.
Friday.
Jeans. And it started out, if you wanted to wear jeans, you paid $1 and we donated it.
Right. And
you wear jeans. And then it turned into, oh, sorry, I was rushing. I came into work on a Monday with jeans. And pretty soon, today, people walk in, and you could tell that the professionalism deteriorated in the speech, the manner, the interaction.
Because once the clothing became casual, the whole personality and the interactions became casual.
The language,
as well. Everything kind of went with it.
The language went with it. Not to say that, and when I speak in generalities. Obviously, there's exceptions to those rules and what have you in anything we speak about, and not totally. There's people that are obviously can be professional in a t-shirt,
right. Of course,
or pajamas, but overall the sense that I found was when that happened. So so thank you for bringing it back,
of course,
and thank you for promoting it, and thank you for the nice clothes I have.
Yeah. I was in Air Force ROTC the first 2 years of college, and I teetered on the fence of if I wanted to go military officer or if I wanted to branch into private sector. I ended up going private sector.
Right.
But one of the main things that was drilled into my head those first 2 years, and I will always remember this: perception is reality.
Absolutely.
Like, especially in the military, like how you're perceived is how you are. That's reality. So they're like, so you've got to be careful. Like, if you end up in some hairy situations, however you're perceived is exactly how they're going to treat you.
Exactly.
So as someone that now sells clothing, you can't tell me that clothing doesn't matter,
right.
because it's how someone's going to perceive you.
Of course.
So it's like if you walk in and you're like, I want a better deal on that, and they're kind of looking like, oh man, this guy's kind of, wishy-washy. They're like, no, that's the deal.
Right.
You walk in, you present yourself like you know something about it, and they're like, oh, okay, you're going to get a different reaction based upon how you present yourself.
True.
So that perception's reality has been something that's really stuck with me, especially through this, and giving the guys the confidence to be able to look their best, feel their best, and then act their best is exactly what I want to try to mimic as a clothier. It's like, I want to be able to dress you for whatever scene that you're looking for. Right now I'm in the suits. Eventually we'll get to active wear and probably lifestyle wear too. But knowing how to dress in every scene is something that
it's essential.
And it's kind of gone by the wayside.
It's
for
kind
guys.
of forgotten though.
It's like you get a wedding invitation and you're like, cocktail attire. What does that mean?
Right.
Versus like black tie. I see people show up to black tie weddings with sport coats, and I'm like, you're supposed to be wearing like either a black or a very dark charcoal and a bow tie.
Right.
You know what?
You don't have a tie on.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to go too deep on you too quick, but that lesson I just explained to you all, I see that as a metaphor for where we're going with the society. If you look at now, even weddings, funerals, or anything like that, clothing was a statement of culture and tradition, and when we start chipping away at those little things, and I know it's Milan, it's just a little thing, shut up. No, and you see it today in everything we do. Once you start chipping away a little at funerals, you don't have to wear black anymore. You don't have to wear a suit no more. There's a whole cultural chipping away that becomes so casual that I think it's truly a detriment to us as a society. When you stop the traditions, that's when we become so homogenized and so ineffective. We become stagnant. When there's no special occasion, there's no special occasion anymore. So we have to keep these things going. That's just how I feel. Maybe I'm too traditional in that respect, but
I think I can give you some piece of hope. I don't think weddings are going away.
No,
I think maybe the importance of marriage might have deteriorated a little bit because you see the divorce rates skyrocketing.
Sure.
But I don't think that
The tradition itself is
The
an
tradition
everlasting
itself,
tradition
right.
that's not going to go anywhere.
and I
Same
think
with certain birthdays.
there's
same with, like,
enough content coming out now
Mhm.
where people are starting to get those like little nuggets of success from these really great writers,
Mhm.
and people are actively looking for it, especially via quarantine, because you saw depression skyrocket.
Oh, it still
Right?
is. Yeah.
So these
Still is.
psychology books and all of these things that are coming out, like, send them to your friends, give them those great literary writers, because it's like, now is the time that, one, you're probably sitting at home, so you have time. Society's giving you all the time in the world to fill your brain with something that's going to make you like strong.
So
and
turn
whole.
it into an opportunity.
Right.
Because mental health is a thing. You know what I mean? And if you ignore certain elements of your mind, it's only going to take you into darker places or positive places, and you choose the direction that you want
Right.
to go in.
And it's like, read those good books because they're classic works for a reason,
Share them. Yeah.
and share them.
Share those.
Mhm.
You know, and I used to hate reading growing up because I was always worried about this and that and all these other things, and I was moving all the time, and it's like I missed so much on the importance of these, like, it just
Great
didn't click
literary
with me.
writers.
I was way too young to understand like what virtue was, and to like, I had no life experience. And now it's like, now I'm getting these literary works, and it's like, it's almost like my steering ship, you know. It's like the captain. It's like I'm on the boat, and it's like they're helping guide and shape you, and that's exactly what they're there for.
I'm smiling at you because you're about a light year away ahead of me. It took me 56 years to get there. But I that's what I admire about you, and young folks like you, both of you. You're inspired by some of that. Unfortunately, we're being guided today in a society where we've allowed the lazy and what I call the pseudo-educated college graduates that have been indoctrinated by craziness today. And unfortunately, these folks have a platform. It's called social media, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And their ignorance is far-reaching, and it's motivating and inspiring ignorance in a lot of places. And the problem is this.
Closing the mind a little bit too.
Oh, they're totally closed. They're
It's
totally
closing the
closed.
mind. a
Yeah,
little bit
it's
too,
just
because what social media is doing. I just actually watched, and I recommend anybody to watch this on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma.
Yep.
Did you see it? And
Saw
the one
it.
thing that stood out to me is when he called cell phones and even social media or anything like that digital pacifiers,
that's all it
Mhm.
is. Yeah.
and that's all it
That's
is.
it,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it really
It allows the
just-
lazy to stay lazy.
That's what I mean. You don't think outside of the box because that
It's
is your little
groupthink.
box. Your little.
That's your little group. That's all you're
It's an
thinking.
echo chamber, so it's like
Yeah.
anything that you can think of, you could put out there, and you'll get it right back to you,
Immediately.
and you'll get it back
Immediate
2 and
grab.
3 times. That's what an
Comfortable
echo is,
pillow.
you know. And it's
They've actually done studies that likes, and Instagram stopped this. There's a fascinating
Counting
story
them.
about that. Stop counting the likes, because you used to see how many millions of likes you got or
Right.
thousands of likes you got.
And you get that little-
immediate. They actually have done studies. Behavioral psychologists have done studies that actually prove that every time it released the same endorphins as drugs do in your brain, and you got that
yeah,
same
see that?
high.
yeah, no, I did.
Did you watch that?
I did watch it. Yeah.
It
Same
struck a nerve,
endorphins.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Could
yeah,
you imagine?
It makes you want to throw your phone in the river.
And then if your phone, if your phone's
It
not
bzz.
going off and you're not getting those
Now
likes, you
imagine
start
what
to
the-
enter like a little light depression.
But
Where you're like, what?
Not even depression. Consider the motivation. You're a 15-year-old girl, and you put out there.
And they showed that too.
Hey, you should put out there that, hey, how do I look? And you got 30, 40 likes.
Right.
Oh, I feel good. You got 30, 40 bads. Oh my God. 15-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, boy, what? Especially girls
Mm-hmm.
Right.
with image and all that at that tender age.
Tender.
Right.
The
Tender
mind.
age.
Yeah.
So can you imagine the effects of that? That is, it's stupefying. I mean, it's just crazy.
I know. I want to say for the listeners here, I want to bring up your back story a little bit, Milan, and I want to have you talk about, because you moved to America when, and where are you from?
Okay. I was born in Yugoslavia.
Okay.
It was a country, yes, it is. Oh, what part? No, all right, it's irrelevant. I consider myself Yugoslavian.
Okay.
And it was a country all the way up until Jamie, check me. No, until it totally broke up in '92-ish time frame. But I was born in Yugoslavia, what now is northern Serbia. My father is Croatian. My mother is Bosnian. Oh. We came here to, those were states.
Yeah.
That's like me saying, Donnie, where are you from? Well, I was born in Pennsylvania. My mom's from Maryland and my dad's from Jersey. That's exactly what that is.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a little more complicated, but essentially there were six states in the that comprised Yugoslavia, which bordered Italy and Greece. If for those of you who don't know, it sits on the Adriatic. Absolutely gorgeous, very agricultural based country. So we moved here after the war. Obviously, in the mid '60s. And the reason we came here is my grandmother married a gentleman after the war, lived in Warren, Ohio.
Okay.
And she brought my dad over years later, married me. So the three of us came here with 2 suitcases and me.
Wow.
And not a goddamn thing else.
Yeah.
We were so damn poor. But back then, and just, I guess, figure out who I am. Back then and right now, I reflect on it. And back in those days, you had to have a guarantor here in the States that they guaranteed you. Mm. They guaranteed that they would provide for you, not the state.
Wow.
That they would guarantee they would provide for you. You had to show employment. Mm-hmm. You had to apply for citizenship, 5-year waiting list. You had to take your citizenship in front of a judge in Warren. My parents did in English. So when we came here, all those things had to happen, and we did. And when they complied to it, we got lawyers. We filled out the forms. We applied. We waited 5 years, and we were in the Warren Tribune. I have the article at home, framed in a photo album, and we were the first family in Warren, Ohio, Middle America, that became citizens on the same day, husband and wife and child. Wow. In 1973.
How old were you?
10. In 73. Yeah. So if you're 18 or younger, you automatically became citizen because your parents were citizens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Applied and did that. So, there was no, hey, I'm here, give me welfare. And my sister was born in 68 when we came in Warren Trumbull Memorial Hospital. And we didn't say, oh, that's our anchor kid. Give me money, give me welfare, No, it was you had to have a job, you had to have a sponsor, all those things. And now I see what's going on in this country, and I don't get too political, but when you sit here and go, oh, I walked over the border, now give me my paycheck. What are you talking about? The hell are you talking about? Yeah. So when we came here, that was it. My father was a baker. By trade, in the military in Yugoslavia, every 18-year-old boy had to go in the army for 2 years. And in the army, you just didn't go to the army, they taught you shit. Guy's a car mechanic, a baker, a locksmith, whatever your trade was, they taught you a trade. And no one that came out of the army was not a tradesman in some aspect of life. And so that was usually their trade for life. So we were so damn poor. Oh my God! Warren, Ohio was the Rockwell painting of America back then. Right now, it was. We played in the streets. It rained. All the kids in the neighborhood came out, and we pattered in bathing suits, and not a care in the world. And now, Warren, Ohio is Beirut. Yeah. It is Beirut. It's just so sad.
Crime.
Oh my God! We went back years ago. I brought my family back to visit some folks in Ohio Street in Warren, Ohio, and we went to visit these folks for about 2 hours. We sat in the living room, and if I told you that we heard sirens go by 12 times, I'd be lying. It's probably more.
Wow.
But it is, it's crime-ridden, drug-ridden. It's absolutely. For me, it was devastating because that was, across the street from my house. Across the street from my house was a pond, and my friend Mary lived there, and she had weeping willows. She had cherry trees. We climbed the cherry trees and got sick.
It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah. So that's a sad thing, but growing up was wonderful there. We didn't know any better that we were poor. My first bicycle, my parents couldn't afford. Neighbor, Mr. Masters across the street, took one out of the junkyard. It was kind of like almost like a radio flyer type one. I shined it up, polished it up, and there we went. I remember getting my first bike one year. 11 or so. We got a used monkey bar with a sissy bar and the monkey bars, and I remember putting playing cards in the spokes, and it sounded like an engine.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
I've done it.
So the reason we came here, I think I really wanted to articulate for some of the audience, I guess, maybe if you're younger folks, or we came here for the freedom and the promise of the Golden Line streets, and if you work hard, you get what you get. And here I am. I was the first one to graduate college, got my master's degree, first one in my family. This country has offered such great opportunity, but we all had to work very hard for it. My parents, my mother, my first job was working in Dunkin' Donuts, where my dad worked 2 jobs. He worked in a bakery and Dunkin' Donuts. My mom was waitressing, and I cleaned floors at 14 years old. I don't even know if they paid me or the company paid me. I don't even remember. But it was so long. But and we worked hard for that. And matter of fact, we were so poor. All our furniture, everything we got was from neighbors. Everything. Patty and I.
Nothing wrong with that.
It was awesome. Kudos to the Masters in Warren, Ohio, Mr. and Mrs. Masters. American people, we didn't speak their language. Anyway, so Patty and I threw away our last piece of furniture that we got. Patty and I threw away after we got married in 1993. We threw away the last piece of furniture. So that wasn't that too long ago. And it was a tin, I don't even know what they're called, where you keep glasses and things, a hutch.
Gotcha.
Threw away a hutch in 1993 that was made out of tin. And
wow, that's old sport right there.
Yeah,
wow.
It was made
tin
out of
hutch.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was the thing. I remember.
Oh yeah, ding! You close it and the whole thing vibrates.
Yep. You hit the glasses in the
Yeah.
tin.
Oh
And
yeah,
just
those
like
are
fall
shatter.
But
it's got some
those are fond
stability.
memories,
Wow.
and to my whole motivation, to the inspiring later on, I guess. You only find true happiness and true joy is if you struggled at all. Happiness is a place you achieve. It's not given to you by some momentary, adventurous, gratuitous from somebody gift or something. Happiness, true happiness, comes from the struggle to get there. And if you have no struggle, you can't achieve happiness.
You find a greater value to the next moment.
You value it. You cherish it.
Yeah, I call those moments being battle tested.
You have to.
And once you're able to succeed past being tested through the battles, man, it's
the hero
I've had
myth.
my own. I'm not going to get into any of that right now, but we've all had our experiences in life. You know what I mean? And when you come from I'm just gonna say, when you come from dark places, you tend to appreciate the light a little more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those are rewards, and those in itself are achievements. You know what I mean? And you find greater value in the next moments by going through those, darker times.
Yeah, and that's the importance of what we were saying earlier with the literary guys. It's like those dark moments can bring you one of two ways. Yeah. They can keep you down there, or you can center yourself through really, really, really great novelists.
Or you can turn out like Dostoevsky's novel and go with the dark side. Yeah,
you go super
no
dark.
Doubt. No,
so it's
super
like,
dark.
And the other thing that I've been listening to, and we both really love this guy, Jordan Peterson. Mm-hmm. He starts bringing symbolism into some of our older movies, and it's like a lot of guys think that Snow White is a movie for girls, and it's not. It's a movie for young boys and men, because in the very beginning you have that like the tyrant queen that's like, you're gonna stay here, and I'm not gonna let you out for years, and by the time you get out of here you're gonna be old and decrepit and lonely, and paints this horrible picture for the guy, and he finds the courage to fight against her, which is his demons, and she goes haywire. She turns into that dragon. He slays the dragon, and it's only through battling his inner self that he's even able to achieve the awakening of the femininity, right. Which is like, if you're not working on yourself every day, how could you expect to find that in a partner?
Absolutely.
Well, he does the same.
You know what I mean?
He does the same thing with Pinocchio.
Right.
All Disney is those original movies. Now it's garbage. But the original.
It's true.
How woke can you get is the competition in Hollywood and Disney. But the old ones, the Pinocchio, the Snow White, those are all tales that we used to hand down verbally to each other, as every primitive society, and then we started writing it down, and then we started filming it, and that's all those are. Right. So when he talks about Pinocchio and the struggle with his father, and the swallowing of the whale, and how that relates to the father dominance and breaking away, becoming your own person, and blah blah blah. That's all that is about. Yeah. That's an old story. Eventually, by mouth, by writing, and then on celluloid film.
Yeah.
Now it's digital. I'm old. But that's all it is, and he breaks it down very succinctly. And I have to tell you a story. The last one about my youth. And my girls always tell me when they were younger, Dad, tell me the story. Tell me the story again about how when you moved here. So when I moved here, I didn't speak English, obviously. No one spoke English. There was no English as a second language for Yugoslavians in Warren, Ohio. No, there was no English or Spanish for a second language in Warren, Ohio, in the Midwest breadbasket of America. I came over at 5-ish, and I went to school, and I always my girls always say, tell us a story, Dad. And I said, well, when I went to school, and I envy you guys, I envy my wife. We go to parties and stuff, and they all go, remember Miss So-and-so's kindergarten class? Ma! Story after. Remember So-and-so's second and third grade class we did? Ma! And I sit back, and they look at me and go, Milan, you have to have a story about when you were in kindergarten, first, second grade, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't. I vaguely remember being there.
Right.
But so I tell them, and my girls are, well, what was that like? And I was struggling for the longest time to get some sort of parallel to what, anecdotally, what that would be like. And I said and it finally occurred to me, and I said, oh, so when Daddy was first, second, third grade, I started speaking a little bit, but kindergarten, first, second grade, I don't remember much because I wasn't there. I was physically there, but I didn't understand anything.
Right.
So I said, do you remember the old Peanuts episodes? Mm-hmm. Charlie Brown and all that? What happened when the parents came by? Did you ever hear the parents talk on Charlie Brown? No. Wah, 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 wah. I said, my first 3-4 years.
That's what it was like when everybody was walking
They
around.
would talk at me, and I would sit there and go, wah, 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 wah.
You're trying to read the ears and emotion. You're like, I wonder. How
I
this
have
person
no
is
idea.
feeling.
They would tell me to do things. You're like, I probably think they thought that I was dumb.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, in the 60s, early 70s, I would imagine that without training or anything, they probably thought, this guy's dumb or whatever.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a little slow or whatever. So I didn't understand English.
Mm-hmm.
When I left in 4th or 5th grade to go to New Jersey, because the Depression hit in the 70s. I don't know if you Van Affel Steel, Bethlehem Steel, GM, Chrysler, GE,
Yep.
all they, it was an hour and a half from
Major
Pittsburgh.
manufacturers.
Pittsburgh closed down practically. It's regentrified since, but we had to go find work. So we went to New Jersey, where there was a settlement of Yugoslavian people, and they said, come out here, blah, blah, blah. So we moved out there, and that's how I ended up on the East Coast here. But up until 3rd or 4th grade, all I heard was wah, 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 wah. And my memories...
There wasn't any sort of, like, how were you learning English at all?
I was the only foreign kid in the
Yeah,
school.
right.
Yeah, at that
No, but,
time
like,
I
were
can't
your-
assume that there was like
were your
pre-first or
parents
speech
were your
classes.
parents learning much that they could kind of help you along? Or
I learned before then.
Yeah.
I interpreted things for many years.
They didn't have too many programs, like I would assume at that time, so like there is now.
No, there was
where it's
none.
Yeah.
We have kids
None.
that are coming from Africa, this part of Africa. We have kids that are coming from South America. All
Right.
these like programs that they have that they could develop. Yeah, and like you said, there was none.
Zero.
You know what I mean?
Zero.
I was
Like,
the only
there
foreign kid there.
like speech classes or pre-first, to where they give like immigrant children the opportunity to go to this class or pre-first for a little bit before you get to first because of the the
Man, I'm
bridge.
surprised that there wasn't like,
Nothing, man.
and
It was like figure it out. That's pretty much what it was.
It was.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. And I translated for my parents for many years, even as an adult. They spoke broken English. I
Right.
told you. My father used to speak like, I told Donnie a euphemism that my father, a little life lesson. I used to run around, Dad, Mark and Tommy and this, and they're all my friends. And he goes, Milan, not everybody can be your friend. And I said, in my language, he would say it.
Right.
And this is how we talked. So I said, Milan, not everybody can be your friend. He goes, Milan, you say everyone your friend. Milan, let me tell you something. If you die and you have one really good friend, you die a rich man. And that's something I...
Gosh, that's poetic. I mean, that's so like, and I don't know if it's like the American in me that's just like loving the accent that he's throwing right now.
I do a great
Yeah.
Moscow Milan when I sing, because I can't sing, but Moscow Milan can sing damn well.
Yeah. Just
Good alto,
drop it
just-
low.
Oh no, he sings like this, we sing whatever we want to sing, and we dance the way we want to dance.
Do you ever go into places and throw on the really thick accent just to mess with people?
Yes.
I've done that
You
when I
have
was
to
younger.
do it.
When I was
Yeah.
younger.
So I'd be doing that until the day.
When I was younger.
Okay, so speaking of family traditions and Yugoslavia,
Yes.
Slavian, we're drinking Šljivovica.
Very well said.
I said that right.
By the way,
I was even
your pronunciation is spot on. Vidakovic, Šljivovica, awesome.
Well, I have Ukrainian, which is almost the same.
I
It's
can
very
understand.
close.
I can understand a little Ukrainian.
Funny story. I don't know if I've actually told you this one. So as we were looking up, and I'm not sure if I said this on the Waltz podcast either.
I think so.
We were looking up my family's history, right? And when they were leaving the Ukraine area, they fled from the Bolshevik army coming in underneath hay bales. And my grandpap was like, I think 3 at the time. And when they were leaving, they like almost taped his mouth shut and was like holding his mouth so he wouldn't cry, so no one would hear underneath the hay bales as they were leaving communism. So like we've had a lot of talks upon that, and at times it almost feels like we're in this like weird parallel of seeing this stuff come back, but like,
Oh, my father is rolling in his grave right now.
yeah, I mean, it's
To see brings a tear.
the
to his
amount
eye.
of people that are here in America that have purposely fled certain ideologies.
Yeah.
It's astonishing,
Yeah, it's wild.
you know. And it's like, and I still have those, like, and they wrote the stories down of when they were leaving. It's like we found like the journals that like was
I
like,
remember
yeah,
you
like
saying that. We had a conversation.
we found this
about it.
journal, and it's like we had to flee this town, and it's like,
Let me just quickly for you young folks out there. I just want to. It's sad. Like I said, my father is probably rolling in his grave now. We came here for opportunity that we didn't have in a socialist country, and everybody's advocating socialism now. Let me tell you what modern day Serbia looks like right now. My cousin's son, in my language, we call it. He's my son from my sister. It's translated. He's there right now. He was here as a student a couple years ago. He lived with me for 2 years. He went to school. He had an F1 visa. His F1 visa ran out. He's back.
Right.
This is what socialism looks like, and this is where young folks are talking about free school, free this, free that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? In Serbia right now, there is free college. There always was, but it's socialist. And what that translates to, all the other things combined, I ask him, I talk to him frequently, online, phone. He says, oh, Ichabod, it's a euphemism for me, a shortened name. He says, Uncle Milan, he says, listen, he says, oh, school's free, everybody's got, my cousin's got her doctorate in economics, I have my degree, this guy, we sit at cafes at night and ask our parents for a couple of dollars because there's no jobs. They're all sitting at cafes around Belgrade and Pančevo and other places. And now that he's got his degree, he can't leave. The U.S. won't give him a visa anymore. Do you know why? He's a flight risk.
yeah,
He'll come here and he'll stay and not leave again because he has no land, no job to go back to, no land to go back to, no job to go back to, no marriage to go back to, no children to go back to. He's a young guy with nothing holding him to his country.
he
Right.
can't go anywhere.
He can't go anywhere. So they sit around at cafes. Oh, it's free education. Awesome. But the ruling class is nepotistic
shit
and
with it,
corrupt.
yeah.
Well, it's corrupt and it's nepotistic. It's by the and that's and they give jobs to their friends, and the next group comes in, they give jobs. And if you're not in that circle, you're sitting around with a PhD at a cafe with nothing to do.
And that's a lot of kind of that Eastern Europe side too, because it's not just Serbia.
Not just
Greece
Yugoslavia.
kind of has that same
Well,
problem.
Greece has always had it. Now
Greece
you're
has
looking at
always had it.
France. You're looking at Spain. You're looking at anyway. That's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. Yes.
So the Shlijovica.
So
I said
on the
it
bright
right
side-
because of the fact that I think I
Brian will like
relate
this
a little
story.
bit.
Brian will
yes.
like this
So the Shlijovica, we got a little sidetracked there. Plum, they call it brandy here, but it's plum whiskey. It's your whiskey.
It's our whiskey.
So what's the tradition behind Shlijovica?
Okay. In Berkasovo, and if you ever seen Fiddler on the Roof, the old one with the
I was young, so I don't remember.
Well,
all
you
of
have
it,
to
but my
watch that.
parents made me
It is.
watch it. I was young.
If you appreciate if you appreciate music or whatever, you should watch the old Fiddler on the Roof. But and it's this remote place in Russia. The film takes place. They didn't film it there, by the way. They filmed the 2 towns from where I was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in the credits. I'm sitting there watching the credits when I filmed in. I was like, holy crap! That's 2 towns from where I was born. It was that stark. I mean, you know, when they got the when you watch the movie, there's this train station. Guy puts a flag up. The only reason the train stops in the middle of this wheat field is because there's the flag was up and it was on a red flag on a stick, and he stops and picks up his daughter and flies away, and there's nothing around. Well, that's where I was born, in some wheat field. Took my weight back in 90. Long story. Anyway, so my grandmother had a little place with no indoor plumbing. We had to take care of the pump. You pump it up and you shower up. and water coming out of a pump in the middle of Eastern Europe is freaking cold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, real cold.
Chilly.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so in the yard she had trees everywhere. So we have plum trees.
Beautiful.
And those plums are Italian plums, they call them,
Okay.
and or some finger plums, I think some people call them. But anyway, they're there and they're all over the place, in out front in the house. And as little kids, as boys, we used to climb the tree. And plum trees aren't very tall; they're very a lot of branches, very low, but you climb up and. They're not like oak trees or anything. They're a fruit tree, right? And there's hundreds of them. And so all the girls and the moms and everybody would bring out baskets about this big. And they're baskets, I say, it's just woven and it's not deep. It's just, and they would put them around the tree and the boys would climb up and we'd shake it.
Yeah.
And all the plums would fall. And there'd be a barrel. And then Grandma used to take, we used to put the plums all in the big barrels, and you did it like jam, for the winter, So you would make, and in Yugoslavia, we had sok bottles, which are soda bottles, but they were juice bottles. They're about this big, 4 or 5 ounces, and you would take, and they would ferment. She put the sugar in, and it would rise, it would ferment, and whew, oh man, very pungent. And they would take hundreds of these little tiny bottles and they would fill them up, and on top they would put pig intestine. And they would tie it with string. And pig intestine, when it dries solid.
Right.
And that would be the cap. And I remember my grandfather, my father's father, I went to see him once. Never, he was a tall man. Croatians are amongst the tallest people in the world. Croatians and Somalians and Croatians, it's amongst the tallest people in the world. And he was
Croatians, yeah.
Croatians. I've heard that before.
Oh, there is every
Like
basketball.
8 feet.
Oh,
Yeah,
listen,
there's some crazy history on
every
Croatians.
basketball team has
Well,
to
is
have one
that the-
Croatian on it.
Is that like the
Very athletic too.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best
The
soccer teams too, as well.
Persia was like that way, right?
Yeah,
Or Persia was Turkey, but
yeah.
Croatia's
in Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
It's right next door to Italy.
Right.
For some reason, the Croatians and I think Somalians are amongst the tallest people in the world, but average height. So my grandfather was 6'2". I had an uncle who was 6'4", and another uncle Pedro was 6'6". My dad was the short one, but I remember it was thin, and I remember him taking in the morning, early in the morning, because they didn't brush their teeth. So he didn't anyway. So you take one of these and take the pig skin off, and you sit there and you take 4 or 5 ounces of this.
Yeah.
And I remember his big Adam's apple, and all I remember was going, and you would take it. Anyway, so the history of
Wow, I couldn't imagine chugging that.
early in the morning. Early in the
First thing in the morning, chugging that.
Yes. And so
That'd be a rough one.
so we wanted to my brother-in-law
Oof.
and my best friend and I decided that we're going to make sure it's because he got an affinity for my family and everything. So we went out to a place in Newark and we got 40 cases of plums, and we bought a 55-gallon oak barrel, and we got our kids to help us out, and my daughter and her 2 cousins stomped on all those plums.
Traditional.
And we distilled it. We got somebody knew somebody had a hand-pinged copper still made in Bosnia. We brought it to the house. The guy was very gracious. We were kin. We were a kin, Yugoslavian, whatever. My mother's from Bosnia. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. So we distilled this, and we distilled it twice. And that's what they had for. But I was a bit of a jerk, and didn't know what we were doing. So I had a hydrometer and to measure the alcohol content, and I went out and bought that. And we're distilling it. And by the way, side note, whenever distilling anything, the first couple drops, I found out, because I'm not as smart as you guys. You guys are getting all this now. I've got it. I'm not that smart. I'm really not. So when
The
you take
highest alcohol content.
so I did this, and you put a string outside of the still. When it goes through the cooling process, you put a string down at the end, and you put your bucket there. We had a 5-gallon water jug there.
So you can get that straight string.
Yeah, so you put a piece of string there, and it started coming out. I was so fascinated. I said, "Oh my God!" I said, and I put a bottle cap just like this in there, and I went, "Oh, I gotta try this." When pure alcohol at 200% hits your uvula,
Yeah.
you can die. I found out later you could actually die.
You could go blind.
No, you can actually
Then
die.
you die.
Really?
It will stop your heart.
I heard the blindness thing because it's like the methane.
I don't know about
400
that.
proof. It's 400 proof.
Yeah, it's 200.
Yeah, it's pure.
200% alcohol.
It's alcohol. So you don't
That's
do
why you
that.
let that
So
shit sit
kids,
for a year.
Yeah.
Because it smooths out.
well, it smooths out as it's dripping all the way. So as more it drips, the more fruit content, the more sugar, more everything. But the first couple drops are actually pure alcohol. I did not know that.
Oh, what was your face like?
Footnote. Well, no, I choked for 15 minutes. They were trying to help me breathe.
Yeah.
It hit my uvula because
It's like one of those ammonia
You probably couldn't get air.
It's like one of those ammonia capsules where you pass out,
Yes.
you put it up to your, and you're like,
I know what smelling salts are like. We also had those at Nina's wedding.
So the moron that I am, I stopped the fermentation process. The alcohol distilling process. I stopped at 112 proof.
112
112
percent or proof.
Percent. Sorry, 112%.
That's still like 200 and some proof.
Oh,
So
and
that's
so
250.
we bottled
Yeah.
it. It was strong.
Did
We
they
bottled
outlaw?
it.
Did they outlaw Bacardi 151?
Not yet.
No.
Do they? I don't see it in stores anymore. Do they sell much of it?
I don't know.
I haven't seen one.
That
forever.
151.
That's so funny.
That was one of the first things that I started drinking as like a young kid.
Wow.
Like I was like 18 and I was like, what should we get? And someone was
So,
like,
like,
oh,
you know,
have the
you're a real
151.
man.
And I was like, we don't know any better. That's the first taste of alcohol we had. I almost didn't drink again. I was like, oh, this is terrible.
That'll make you not want to.
Oh, this is awful.
It's like a lot of the people that blow fire, people at the circuses and things like that. That's what they use to blow fire.
Yeah.
So 151 is 151 proof.
Yeah.
He was 224 proof.
112%. Yeah.
No, 112%.
Percent.
Right, which is
So 80 proof,
which
40,
is
40,
you double it, right? And the proof is
40%
double.
out, 40% alcohol.
So 112
is 80
times
proof.
2.
Yeah.
So it's like 230 proof. Like
Yeah.
So I said during my speech.
151 is 151 proof.
Proof. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So at my daughter's
Bacardi
wedding,
151 on
I
steroids.
tell Rebecca, the photographer, I said, Rebecca, I just want you to do me a favor. Since you're taking photos, I told this story quickly, hopefully. I told this story of how the bottle came to be. I said, do me a favor. When I do the toast, please take a couple pictures of the bridal party because they're drinking that. There's a video of my niece.
Oh my God.
She was going, So we kept the
Oh, the
tradition
faces are
alive. I have
hysterical.
3 other bottles for my 2 nieces and my other daughter, Anna. So, yeah. So
That's been quite honestly one of the best weddings I've ever been to.
Yeah.
That was
It
so
was.
much fun.
It
like
was.
the sand dance floor, everything. The tent
beach,
was up,
yeah.
the beach there. Like
That
it was
the last one you
drizzling.
just went to, right?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
drizzling. So like
Congratulations,
they
by
had
the
the
way.
tent,
Thank you.
but like
Thank you.
man, it was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Everything went off awesome.
It was.
Food was good. Everything was good. Jake purposely ripped his pants, which I'm still so upset.
Yes, we
I
don't
make-
want to talk live.
Yeah,
But yes,
all I make a good buddy of mine a really good fitting seersucker suit.
Awesome
Yeah.
fitting. Very
Yeah.
nice.
The first thing this kid tries to do in it because he's drunk is do a split.
Oh,
Good split.
God.
It didn't pan out well for the pants. Yeah, no,
No.
it didn't pan.
Oh, the whole way, the whole way down, and he wore it the whole rest
Thank
of the
God
night.
he had
Really?
underwear.
We went to Starboard.
He wore
we
underwear.
went all over Dewey.
Yeah.
He's got the biggest rip down his pants.
He wore underwear, which is thank God.
Yeah.
So the wedding was in Delaware.
Dewey, yeah. It was
Oh, it was in
great.
Dewey?
Yeah, it was
Nice.
great.
That's where the wedding was.
Yeah, on the beach there at the lifeguard station. It was a historic site.
I was
Yeah.
right on the beach.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what did you wanted to ask me about? inspiration.
Yes, we wanted to talk a little bit about your motivation, because you started a YouTube channel, and you started, putting out there. You started putting out there, like, as an older guy starting to take care of his diet again, and you want to live purposefully and find meaning through that next chapter of your life.
Yeah.
What's been what's been guiding you?
I failed.
Okay, at what?
At me.
That's the start to motivation.
I
Yeah,
failed
you get
at me,
to
and
that point.
You can't even say, like, honestly, like, you can't even really elaborate too much on that.
Well,
Once you fail, you
mean,
realize that you can only. What happens when you go
one place to
down?
go.
You can only go up, right?
Well, I got a wake up call. I didn't fail in life. I mean, I'm a productive person. I have a house, 2 children,
Failure
well
comes in
adjusted.
Yeah,
Yeah, failure to
college.
me.
Nina just got married. They're doing well.
I always read and I try to philosophize, and I found out I woke up one day. It was February 2nd, the Super Bowl, about 2 years ago, when it started. My realization that I failed. My wife made this incredible Super Bowl dinner. Wings and this and dips. And the trouble was there was only 2 of us there. And I ate like a glutton. To the point where at one point I just sat there and went, what the hell am I doing? I had no governor. Fast forward about 6 months later, and well, there's a long story in there, but I did cut it out, and I realized mentally I had failed myself. And then 6 months later, Tommy, my daughter's husband today, meets me at a bar and says, hey, meets me outside. The girls went shopping. He says, Mr. V, can I talk to you? And I had already started to realize that I needed to fix who I was. So downstairs, I'll go into a minute, I guess. He says to me, I want to talk to you. And I said, oh my God, he's going to ask for my daughter's hand in marriage. And I was thinking, shit. I'd like to buy you a drink. He's never said, I'd like to buy you a drink, Mr. V. So I knew something
That's
was
always
up.
the other way.
That's always,
Hey, do you want to have a drink?
Yeah, no.
That means you're buying.
Yeah, I'm buying. So, Mr. V, I'd like to buy you a drink. And I went, oh, crap. He's going to ask for my daughter's man. And he did, and all I heard again was, wah, 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 wah. And I looked at him, and he was asking for my daughter's hand in marriage, and I felt like I was in a foreign land. My tongue got tied. I didn't know what to say. In my mind, I had rehearsed this 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
In my mind, I had this witty, provocative response full of rich advice that was profound in its nature, that I could share with him, that was this life-changing, altering blah that he could use and carry forth in the land.
Forever, yeah.
My reaction was, no, I have another year, don't I? And I sat there and I made some stupid joke. This was my speech at the wedding.
Yeah.
It's a good speech.
And I said, and I spoke, this is my speech. I didn't bring it, I don't know where it was. I put it on my daughter's desk for her to keep if she wanted to. But the speech was really for Tommy, that I had failed my daughter. I had failed him. I didn't articulate this incredible philosophical rendition of what I would have said to a man coming to ask for my greatest gift in life. You want to take my daughter's hand in marriage? You want to relinquish me of the responsibility that I bestowed on this precious flower? Mm-hmm. You want to take that from me? Let me tell you what that means to me. And I didn't come out with any of that. I came out with something ridiculously stupid. So I started early in February with this gluttony thing, and I built a gym downstairs. I said, I need to fix my mind, my body, and my spirit. All were screwed up. Mm-hmm. They had become complacent. I had become this not misguided either. I had no compass. I didn't know where I wanted to get to. So I decided to myself, you know what? I'm going to get healthy. And I read and back up. I went home and I tried to explain to my wife, Patty, which is my God's gift to me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she truly saved me from whatever stupid shit was going on in a male Raskolnikov, Stolichnaya novel that you wanted, some black hole that I was in. She saved me from. Otherwise, I would have been, Hemingway's Old Man in the Sea. I would have gone fishing for 8 days and wondered why I starved to death if it wasn't for her, So she just saved me, and I didn't do the same for my daughter. I didn't do the same. I didn't do Tommy justice when he asked me. So I went home and I said, okay, I've started to fix my diet. I'm gonna go fix my mind, body, and spirit. And I said, here's what I always said to I always procrastinated for everything, so I went in the last year and a half and I read Hemingway, I read Solzhenitsyn, I read Moby Dick, and stupid novels, 3,000 pages of novels, the Gulag Archipelago, and I sat there and I read all this stuff, and by the way, they don't make these novels. I said my speech. They don't make these novels to inspire you. They do in an odd way. If you read them and understand them,
Perception.
You have to understand them, what they're trying to tell you. They are inspirational in the darkest ways humanly possible.
Yeah.
They are inspirational. Avoid this. Don't become that. This is why. Mm-hmm. And it goes into these incredible
it's like the
novels.
alarmist way of being like, there's a better way.
There's a better way. And
like
if you don't, this is what's waiting
like,
for you.
Absolutely.
Here's the bottom.
When your malevolence reaches such a level that you hit rock bottom. Every one of these epic novels, they hit such a bottom and guide you there and tell you that if you don't, this is what's waiting for you. If you're lazy in your mind, body, and spirit, this is what it's in store for you. Yeah. Murder, mayhem, misguided deeds, poverty, disaster, plague. I read Hamlet and I said, oh my God. Yeah, probably the greatest play they say ever written, and it was mind-blowing. I read Hamlet and I was like, Jesus, dude, slow the hell down. You want to talk, when you get into Hamlet, got into such in a short period of time, did so much based on a roller coaster of events that were totally misunderstood and misguided, and at the end, everybody's life is taken, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, and you're reading it going, this is a car crash, don't do that, he did it. That type of thing. And you have to read these to understand all this social justice crap and I texted just today, this is a fact. Mind-boggling as it is, after I read all these novels, I read Shakespeare, I read in the last year and a half, and I learned this, I think DeSeuss on his Twitter fact, and so the Daily Wire also published it because one of the gentlemen there, and I'm speaking too fast, I forgot his name for a second. I listen to his podcast all the time, not Clavin and not Ben Shapiro, but anyway. So he graduated from Yale, and he says the fact: last year was the first graduating class of Yale University. An English major was not required to read a single book of Shakespeare. Now, you're an English major at Yale University, one of the preeminent universities in the world. You weren't required to read Shakespeare as an English major. What are we doing?
Interesting.
You don't have to sit there and decipher in English and examine and go deep beyond the first layer of onion to the next, or even, God forbid, the third layer of onion to find out what Shakespeare was talking to in his language that he articulated so well. You, as an English major from Yale, weren't required to read Shakespeare.
For sure.
That's all they read as English major. That's where we got some of the literary masterpieces that we have today at Oxford and Yale and Harvard and all. Now it's this foo-foo-ness of where we are today. And
it's touchy because they don't want to offend. And I don't think Shakespeare was meant to offend either, but
it doesn't matter if he's there to offend.
Yeah, because in order to think, you have to be willing to risk being offensive.
In order to speak,
you have
right
to be
now,
comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
right now, I am
think.
offending somebody by saying this. I guarantee you're going to get some feedback going. That guy's a lunatic. What's he talking about? In order to speak,
that's when you know you're doing something right.
Right.
Right, because peel it back a layer and open the dialogue with the person, you will most likely find the fact that they're just as warming and as loving as you. They might not share the same thing, but when you break down those barriers, you have to be willing to risk, like thinking deeper beyond something. Like, I sent you a quote today, and it was like, rational discussion is only as possible, or only has, how was that worded? It was in the book. A rational argument only has a chance of success as long as the emotionality of the situation does not reach like a critical degree. And once it surpasses that, no matter what objectivity you bring to the discussion, if it's too emotionally charged, it's a mute point.
And I forgive me, I get passionate about this stuff. But so I apologize. My wife is going, you got too out of control. But that's me. That's the Yugoslavian in me, right? Right. So yeah, no, you got to be passionate about this. And I'll tell you why. You know what somebody said today. Douglas Murray said today. He said, you know what? It's that time. The mob has spoken there, and unfortunately the mob is a small segment on either side. And Douglas Murray said today, he says, you know, it's time where, and even Democrat and Republican that I know, leftists are a whole different breed. That's what I'm talking about. I'm an independent. I was in the Army. I learned very early in Europe and here, my parents' upbringing, I don't give a flying F. So you don't have to edit me. I don't give a flying F. When we dug a foxhole in the military, I didn't give a crap if you were black, white, purple. I didn't care if you were that deer. If you got in the foxhole with me and you were ready to fight, you're my brother. That's right. I didn't give a crap.
We're all on the same team.
I don't care if you're
America's got to remember that we're all on the same team, looking for the same
and nobody
goal,
thinks
trying to provide the same exact thing for each and every family.
They're making us think today.
We're all trying to do the same thing.
But the mob, to Douglas Murray, he says, now is the time. Because what they didn't do in Germany, they didn't do in Italy, they didn't do in Stalin's Russia. When the mob struck, everybody said, you know what, I'm a good guy, but I'm going to wear your patch, whatever patch it is, just so you don't bother me. I'm going to appease you guys, and I'm going to be part of it just so you don't bother me too.
I'll wear my mask.
But here's an interesting fact.
Did you read the novel Ordinary Men? Yeah, there's a good novel. I think it's Christopher Browning. It's Ordinary Men, and it's talking about when they came to Poland and how they were like, look, we're in war, and certain things in war are, you know, crazier than normal, right? But we're not going to force you to anything that you don't feel comfortable doing. So if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to do it. And these were ordinary guys, and they found real quickly that, like, just, all right, well, it started with, hey, we're going to round these people up, we're going to put them in a hole, right? And it started there, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is war, they're prisoners. Yeah, these are prisoners. And then it was like, well, now you're not giving them food. And then it came to the point where it was like, no, actually, you're going to take them out back and put
a little at a time, a chip at a time. And it was like
a small little incremental thing that happened over time. And we bring when we talk about this, and I want listeners that if they're listening intently, to know that there is emphatic motivation in these stories to become incrementally better at what you do every day, so that way these catastrophes don't happen.
Examples.
It's examples of history gone really bad, and you can be resolute within your mind by reading books to understand the art of putting yourself together. And like he said, I failed. And he took a triumphant path towards redemption. And it's that hero myth towards like, well, I'm going to figure myself out. Maybe it's starting with like, I don't have to eat the 12 chicken wings after a burger.
Right.
I have my burger, I have my stuff. And then tomorrow, after you've done that, you're like, all right, well, I'm also going to go for a run for the first time in a while. And you put yourself together that way. And slowly but surely, that snowball
You elevate.
gets behind you.
Your
and
mind,
now
your
you're
spirit,
an
your
absolute
physical.
freight train towards being the best possible version of yourself that you couldn't even have imagined when you started. When you started, you couldn't have imagined the heights that you could reach. And that's how, like we take the human body and existence for granted. And it's there, and it's like you're capable of so much more on your shoulders
Absolutely.
than you would ever possibly imagine, because your body is stronger than your mind. And if you don't read and you don't take the time to learn yourself and you don't sharpen your mind, you'll never get to the best version of yourself.
So I apologize. I digressed there tremendously, but to Tommy and back to why I did it. Tried mind, body, and spirit. One quote for everybody out there is that I love and I live by is evil only exists when good men do nothing. And that's a great philosophical quote. Thank you. So I started writing this, and I'm sitting there. What do I do? So I went and read. I built a gym. I got into kettlebells. It's on my link to my.
I saw that video.
Pavlov is a Pavlov, the Russian guy. I listened to the history of it. It's fascinating history about the kettlebell. And because, I'm older, I didn't want to hurt myself. I've tried lifting weights. I got to 225 at one time with my friend as a young man back then, and I was huge. That's not what I want to do. I wanted to get strong. Strength was going. Something weird happens to you when you turn 40-ish, guys. Just warning. And when you turn 50, something else happens to you.
I'm getting there.
No. When 40?
I knew you kind of were.
40? There's a one.
I got a little bit.
Yeah, you do. There it is. No, at 40-something,
I hate you.
there's one. Your body develops one pain. And one day it's here, next day it's here, over here, and you're sitting there at 40s going, well, why does that hurt today? And it wanders.
Dude, I've got 2 knee surgeries. I feel that already. You're telling me that's going to start at 40?
No, it wasn't even these. I have 2 ACLs. I have 2. No, and then at 50.
I wake up some days and I'm like, man, my neck.
Oh, got it. But at 50, wait till 50. 50, you get
bottom of
2
your
pains.
Yeah.
2 pains, and they start going, and you're like, I was sick and tired of feeling that way. So mind, body, and spirit. I fixed my mind. I started reading. I started to understand philosophy, and I went back that night and I reread. As a young man in college, I read Plato's Republic. I went back and reread it, and I said, I got so much out of this later on. You're fortunate. You're young enough, and you're starting now. I definitely would read that, Plato's Republic. It's a hard read, but it's worth it.
I think I read it in college.
Yeah.
That is a tough read, because I think they were talking about...
Well, Plato talks about Socrates' arguments and everything. And
Yeah.
But human nature doesn't change. So over the millennia, it doesn't change. We're either
There's a
good,
story
bad,
in there
or-
where they're talking about the globs, right? Where, like, when the assault on Olympus happened, humans, when they were first together, right? There used to be, like, there was like a glob form, and there were
You're
guys
thinking
that
of
would have...
something else.
It's definitely in Plato, though, because I had a philosophy class, and
Turns
they were...
molecules.
the book's this
It was
thick.
like a
They
molecular image.
the gods, in order to fight off these humans because they were too powerful, split them.
They had to
right?
photosynthesize.
So you had like the majority of people that were like
Metamorphs.
male or male female, right? Because it was almost like a twin, right?
You're thinking of something. Plato's The Republic.
Then maybe I'm
Is when
thinking
he's-
of Socrates.
he-
they had a dinner party and they're discussing like the
Oh, they
how
discuss
did
many
men
things,
happen
yeah,
and
yeah.
what's the like, and they're discussing sexuality too.
Well, they're discussing human nature,
Right.
really, who we are.
Yeah.
And, so a great read, some of it, and there's quote, I've highlighted stuff. My wife goes, what the hell are you doing? I was trying to get better. So I was watching a TED,
TEDx.
TED speech, and this woman, behavioral psychologist, said something to me profound that I just didn't know. My whole life I'm searching for, I want somebody to motivate me. And she said they have done extensive studies, meta-studies, where they have figured out it is impossible to motivate another individual. Did you know that?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I've been reading into this for a while.
Yeah, I can't motivate you.
Exactly.
I can inspire you.
You can inspire.
I can inspire you initially to go do something, but motivation comes from within. And I didn't understand that. I did not know that, and it took me 56 years to figure it out.
And the most dangerous place that you could be is a comfort zone.
And that's where I was. I was in a comfort zone.
I wanted to say that earlier, that the comfort zones are very, very
awful.
Comfortable until you realize that you're in a comfort zone. Then it becomes very uncomfortable.
Awful.
Because you're like, how do I get out of here? I mean, this
Right.
is I made this such a cozy
You
place.
could breathe.
Yeah.
You
could
can
breathe,
breathe,
but you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, but you don't
treading
realize
water.
what you're doing to yourself.
You're just treading water.
Exactly. And you're just coasting.
So, for the last...
Right.
Before you know it, you wake up a certain age,
Well,
or
because
with
that-
a certain feeling.
That comfort
Two
zone,
pains
while
going.
initially might feel safe and secure,
Oh, it's safe.
it starts to get suffocating.
Oh, 100%.
You know, it's like you're swaddled on the couch, but you had just gotten out of like a cold shower, so you feel great, and you're laying there, and it's like
being in a coma.
and you fell asleep, and now you wake up, and your hands are tied, and you're in a straitjacket, and it's like, oh, I'm swaddled to death. Where do I go? How do I get out of this?
Right.
And you almost have to and then it's a labyrinth, and you make the journey out so much harder than it needs to be.
So
by staying in that zone for too long.
And when you watch my video, I got a good picture of my motivation. I put the Punisher up there, the Punisher skull, and it says mind, body, spirit, faith, family, and all those things that you should concentrate on. And I do believe if you write things down, that inspires you and motivates you as well. So if you see them every day, you tend to think about them every day. If you think about them every day, you tend to do them every day. Yeah. So I work out every single day, and I challenge anybody to pick up a kettlebell and work for 12 minutes. I have a link on my YouTube channel to a couple English guys that do a 12-minute workout on a kettlebell. If you could do it, kudos to you, because it's hard.
And if you can't do it, try to do it.
And it took me a long time to do it, to the point where I didn't get to exhaustion.
Start lower.
Start
so it's
lower.
You can't do it with a 5 pound. Do it with a 2.5.
Exactly.
I started with a 20. Thank God.
Yeah.
Then I bought a 36, a 1 pound, and I do it with that now. And I've gotten those pains have gone away. I treat my wife better. I feel better spiritually.
Well, he also built himself a nice sauna too.
And I've read a lot about. I've listened to
that. Also can relax you.
Well,
now, do you do essential oils?
No, you should incense
while you're in the sauna.
While I'm working out.
Gotcha. In the sauna, you should get some eucalyptus or like some orange or something. So like when you put it in, like
I do. I'm on the same journey, man. I'm with you, man, and it changes you. Like I was a boxer for over 10 years. Ask Donovan, I run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, religious. I see you all the time. Yeah,
I'm always doing that, and that's my comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? But it's a comfort zone that is.
Do you get crazy if you don't do it every day?
I'll be honest with you. But you know why? Because I didn't just turn it into a commodity. I turned it into a lifestyle.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it's
what I do.
If my body doesn't work, if my mind doesn't work, if my spirit isn't right, then I'm not going to be prepared for any challenge that I have to face. Do you know what I mean? Because if your mind's not working, you're not going to be able to function and be able to deal with certain challenges that life brings to you. If your body's not working, physically you're not going to be capable to do a lot of things. And it's not, I think I have time to go to the gym today, or I think I have time to take care of myself. No, you make time.
Yeah.
Because you have to be prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually for every.
Do you know how old that thought process is? So when I went home and read Plato's Republic again, Socrates is engaged in a discussion with some disagreeing fellows, and he says that 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. He says. You could be the greatest mind in the world, but if your body quits on you, you die, you become feeble, you can't articulate, you have to have all three in order to be effective. Mind, body, and spirit you have to have in order to make a change and influence and provide motivation for somebody. So the thing on the motivation is, it comes within. You have to one day decide, like I did when I hit bottom with the food, with my response to Tommy, when he asked for my daughter's hand in marriage, and when I went back and read Socrates' quote that Plato put down, I realized that the three elements of who I was were not as sharp as they should have been, to say the least. So that's just you have to, if and the only reason I did my video, the only reason I put it out was to complete and be true to myself. I started articulating this stuff to folks like yourself. And I said, you know what, I sucked it up even though it was embarrassing to put it out. I said, you know what, if it inspires one person, my age or younger, whatever, if it inspires somebody to go take that first step and go, oh, screw it, let me buy a 20-pound kettlebell and let me try this for a little while, you automatically feel better. After a few weeks, you look better. When you look better, your confidence, and you look like you put on a brand new suit that's custom made for you, and you feel a little pep in your step. You give your wife a little wink.
Yeah.
You treat somebody, and they go, hey, people have told me, come on, there's something different about you. Tommy.
You look great.
Tommy says to me, he goes, Mr. V, you always look different every time I see you. I says, thanks.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
growth.
good or bad.
It's because every day I'm working to be the best version of myself.
I'm trying.
And that's
every
the
day.
only answer that you could really.
And I've been doing this for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So
Kudos.
I
was inspired by the video.
thanks, man.
Yeah, I wasn't watching it on my phone. I wasn't I streamed it right to my television.
Oh no!
Screen mirrored it. So you were
6 foot Milan.
Yeah, I was
6
like,
foot
there
fat
he is.
Milan. Belly out to here.
It was inspiring.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Guys, you're young and you're doing this, and it gives me all the things I said about the mob and where we're going. It's these moments that give me faith and hope about the future, that they're being heard because they have a venue to be heard by, and I don't think it'll last because there's folks like you that will stand up and say, okay, enough, enough, you know.
Well, and I think that right now you have, you know, our generation that sees and understands the problem, right? And I have empathy towards why the discussion's being had, and I understand the place that they're coming from. Now, the solution is where it's the conversational point. You know, it's like, hey, let's break this down. Let's get to the conversational point to this, and let's do this in ways that's like, let's understand the literature for becoming more purposeful, and understanding the, like, you know, if we're a collection of people, you know, it's upon each person to be great for society to be great. Right? And you can help bring people up, but like we said before, the motivation comes from within. So try to be as inspiring, try to be as helpful, try to be as knowledgeable, be a source of, and how does Jordan Peterson say this? It's like when you've mastered your own catastrophe, right? Like when you've been
able, clean your first room,
right?
When your room's in order.
But like when you have yourself in order, and you have yourself so in order that there's excess, then you can begin to help, right? But like, help. Start with yourself.
Right.
Get it all together first,
right.
Which is where the motivation comes from, and it's where all of us, like we talked it last week too. The incremental betterment of oneself will only benefit society, because when you get really, really, really good, everyone around you will extort that talent for the most possible gain that we could ever have. And whether that's inspiration or whether that's just abject, like, you know, charitable giving or creation of some sort of product that changes the way that we do everything, that only happens from the individual being able to look within themselves to move us forward.
No, I love what Jordan Peterson says about that. He says, you know, how are you going to fix the world. There was a question from the audience by this social justice warrior, young girl. She couldn't have been 20, 18. And she says, whatever question. He goes, you want to fix the world's economy? You're 18 years old. He goes, fix your room first. After you fix your room first, you could help the rest, your brother out. If you helped your brother out and you fixed your room, you can help your family out. After you've helped your family out, maybe you could help out your town. After you helped out your town, maybe you could help out. But it's got to start with a foundation.
Yeah.
And you've got that. The only way you could go change the world is if, hell, you know how to dress yourself, feed yourself.
Can't build a house on wet sand.
No, exactly right. So foundation, and you guys are great, laying great foundation, and I'm honored to be here with you guys. I know he's probably waving at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're done, Jamie. No.
No, thank you for coming on, because it was something that I wanted to. We've talked a bunch, and I wanted to get to the root of with these great authors, and the more that I'm reading, and I always set myself up for the ability to change my opinion based upon new information. But I really felt like through this summer and the things that I've gone through and the relationship ups and downs with certain individuals, it was like I got to a point in the middle of summer where I just kind of looked around and I was like, man, I gotta change something. I keep getting to this point and it doesn't get further. And you and I had this conversation one night, because it's like I'm really terrible at hiding my emotions, and you were like, man, this is tearing you up. And it was that point where it was like a certain individual.
You shouldn't hide your emotions, though.
I know, a certain individual kind of put it into perspective for me, where it was like I was waiting for the big thing to happen for me to do all the little things correctly.
Yes.
Yep. It was like I was waiting for this
the big
aha
thing.
moment
The big thing is
to make this big change, and then it's like, well, then I'll be able to do this, and this.
Right.
And it was like,
me too.
Oh my gosh, it was like so succinctly put to me after months of reflections upon a thing that didn't go well, that I was just kind of like
too long, and then you realize that you're waiting a long time. Yeah. You're like, holy shit! I've been waiting for.
It was so succinct.
You know what the big thing is?
I'm missing the day to day. I'm missing the little tiny things that make it better.
The big thing is an accumulation of all the little things.
Yeah.
And
because if I had the big thing given to me, I would have ruined it. It's like if I bought the house, or the building would have happened, or all the dreams that I was talking about, I would have absolutely ruined it because I didn't even know how to take care of what I had. So I wouldn't have been ready for it. I wouldn't have been ready for the big thing if I didn't work incrementally every day. And I'm still working, because I'm not, by all means, not perfect, but trying to put my sock drawer together, trying to put together, little tiny things will make you just slightly better, and then.
Well,
then it'll happen.
Hopefully this made somebody better watching or something, because I don't know if I was really inspiring, but I would like to inspire anybody with a Yale degree in English to read a Shakespeare novel. That would be a great thing.
I don't know if the people from Yale are listening, but if anybody's questioning why we might have these opinions, I would just ask you to read the books that we've mentioned, and maybe on the YouTube we'll post a list of books.
I'll send you a list.
Because if you read the books, you'll kind of understand why we might have those opinions. And I'm sure, because I started reading some from the other way too. It's like there needs to be a middle ground, because on that side too, there's decent books over there as well that kind of bring me to a point of knowing and understanding the other side, and I get their points. And
you have to watch both sides, by the way.
You gotta pay attention.
You have to. Sam Harris. You got to watch Steve Pinker. Steve Pinker.
Yeah.
Steven Pinker just wrote a book, completely inspiring, but totally Now, Steven Pinker, if you don't know, is a Harvard behavioral psychologist, I believe. Very, very, very much Democrat. Exalted by the Democrats, except he wrote a book recently. In it is justification for Western civilization. In it is, I don't know how many pages it is, but he talks about how much we are better off today because of democracy, because of capitalism. He puts 75 charts that he gets from all over the world, in every country, we are better off economically, socially, murders, killings, wars, whatever, poverty, than we were ever in the history of mankind. So,
and that isn't
is
to
a good
gloss
place to be.
like, and the point that I was trying to make with that is, as we say things like that, that's not to gloss over the glaring like mishaps of our past. It's not meant to just be like, oh, look, like, just forget about it. Like, no, there needs to be the understanding, but like, we're working towards this, and we've been trying to get there, and we're very close. You know, and we're incrementally better every single year. Like, stay the course, don't throw it away.
Don't throw it away.
So
It's important.
hey, we're gonna end on being incrementally better every day.
Incrementally better every day.
Incrementally better.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Salud.
Salute. Živjeli.